Hey everybody, and welcome back to another casted game here on Age of Sunbros. This one is a long time coming. This is one of my favorite people to watch. This is Great Scythe 11, the man, the myth, the legend himself. Shout out to Julian Pasha for being the first one to point out this game and bringing it to our attention. I am joined here today by SerSharkDad. SerSharkDad, how's it going?
Excited for this one. I'm a big USA fan. Just it's the main Civ, so I'm very curious as to exactly how this one's going to go on his end and how he's going to fight with the Great Scythe.
Exactly. For those that don't know, a quick overview. So Great Scythe is almost like the Age of Empires 3 version of Fat Slob from Age of Empires 2. This is an individual only who plays Germany. Between Legacy and now, I believe at least 40,000 games. Always Germany. And he does not play a meta Germany. He plays it his own way, usually opening with 2 TPs, going into a church and defensive building back in his base. He uses settler wagons, free Yuan from shipments, plus timings to defend his base. Totally unique experience. He's not necessarily a pro player. His elo has gotten high in the past, but he just kind of does his own thing. He doesn't seem to have any interest in competitions or, trying to keep up on the meta and learning, even though he does play other civs, like learning different civs on the ladder. He really enjoys his way of playing. So what we are going to see is a unique spin on Germany that probably nobody else either has the experience or even the capacity. And that's why they call him the gatekeeper, because when you fight Great Scythe on the ladder, you can't, it's not just a meta build versus a meta build and you can follow a guide. You actually have to think this guy through or use the fact that his micro is very dependent on drag boxing to use your own superior micro. But there's no guide or easy way to get past this guy. You just have to be a genuinely decent player to get past him. And so therefore we are going to see if Haha Ya can pass the gatekeeper.
Yeah, it's interesting because you have a guy that you know exactly what he's going to do. He's going to turtle FI as Germany, and yet still people struggle with that. You would think, well, if I knew everything that my opponent was going to do ahead of time, that it would be easy to win every single game at that point. But I guess this submission is knowing Julian Pasha, who has a personal hatred for the United States. I'm sure he's gonna show that just because you know what's gonna happen doesn't necessarily mean it's the case that you're gonna be able to kind of crack the code, as it were. Just depending on the build order and exactly how you decide to play it out. That's not to say that Great Scythe can't adapt in the moment, but the general game plan going forward is that he's going to do a defensive FI.
Correct. Looking at the decks here, we're going to look at the USA deck first, because I think that is more variable. Again, Sir Shark, you said that you are more comfortable with the USA or more familiar. What are your thoughts about this deck?
Yeah, so looking at this right away and just kind of looking in that bottom right hand corner, you can tell 1010. So what you're going to see is a 1010 FF. This is the fastest fast fortress that the United States can do. So you just do 10 vills, and then typically you would either send you can maybe overpop with the French immigrants if you want, but in this case it's just a straight 1010. So he's going to go Delaware age up, which is going to be 700 food, so faster, and then he's going to have the capitalism sent in, so he's doing that coin trickle to help to get to H3, and now he's sending in Spanish immigrants in the transition, which is going to give him a better XP trickle and then the ability to spawn tercios, and gives him an outpost as well. So you get a lot of things out of that card. It does cost, I think, 350 food off the top of my head. And so, or just 300. Okay, cool. So, you'll see that come out, and then you should see, just standard, capital building, then into 700 coin. And then the point of this build, though, really quick, is just to say you get to Fast Fortress really quickly. And then from there, you just start using that XP trickle, maybe take a trade post, and you just start cranking shipments in H3 and then overwhelm your opponent with the timing attack, which is hopefully what we will see. That should kill an FI, but you never know.
Exactly. Now, looking at Great Scythe, he's aging up with the Philosopher Prince, not standard German. Looking at his deck, okay, so as someone that watches a lot of Great Scythe, again, if anyone plays Germany, they're looking at this deck saying this is not standard. No 700 wood, no 9 Yulan shipment, a lot of eco cards, right?
Yeah.
To understand what Great Scythe wants to do, right? He's got this for protection. He's usually ships 700 coin first, then the 3 settler wagons, and he FFs with Germany. Basically a naked FF, one of the fastest as well in the game. So even though USA has great tempo, Germany is going to try to match it, and they get this. He is ready to sit in late card. I have seen Great Scythe wipe opponents, back off, put 3 layers of wall up, and literally wait 20 minutes just so he can play with Imperial Mercs. I mean, this man's aims are beyond us mere mortals. So with that, looks like USA popping the Tercios. I really like this game plan, I think, versus Great Scythe, right? He's got a tower here to pop out units. He's got Tercios with their high siege, sieging the TPs. And, I mean, this really should slow down that shipment curve of what the German FI or FF that Great Scythe is trying to pull off.
You know, but I never find, oh, there's the 8-state militia. That, it's a little suspect, in my opinion, just because, you know, you want to get your shipments out, and you should have a game plan for just as fast as you can going to Fortress. And I don't know if 8-state militia is, like, totally necessary in this regard, but sieging down infrastructure is always nice. I think in this game, plat is typically, I find that if somebody's gonna FI, they're gonna FI. Like, all the kind of poking and prodding that people can do in this game, like, yeah, sure, you kill the shipment curve, but it never really kills the FI, truly.
Right, you gotta have a game plan. And with that, Germany now overpopped. Looking back at United States, yep, looks like he is gathered up. I would assume the 700 coin is sent. Yep. So both players, 6 minutes, ready to go to age 3 here any minute. And I'm going to guess that by that macro, Great Scythe already clicked up with the Exiled Prince.
Ooh. Nice. Very good. And then Settler Wagon's coming in. He's kind of tried to poke and prod here, looks like, but State Militia are just not, like, they're not really for raiding. They're more for, like, I don't make these until late game, like, kind of unit. Like, yeah, and then right into the Ulan, not good.
Yeah, a great skirm, but not enough to kill, like, one of the most DPS heavy cav in the game. And just like that, looks like he loses 3. Ooh, nice drag box, though. There by haha.
Yeah, saving the other half of that. That's good. That's good. But then Great Scythe already hitting that age 3 even before. See, like, here's the issue though. You should not doing a 10-10 Delaware. Your opponent should not be reaching age 3 before you. And I mean, Great Scythe had a very, very competitive age of time, and I understand that, like, he has settler wagons and things like that, but, like, should be about the same. And then I think that's the State Militia card coming in is part of that issue. Just if I'm ever doing a 10-10 Delaware FF, it's like, I mean business, you know what I mean? Like, you're going in, you're like, you're not, like, somebody wants to fight with you outside of the bar, you just pull out a gun and you shoot them. Like, it's right. What the 10-10 Delaware FF is. And
or in
this
case,
is not what's happening right now.
3 Gatlings. You pull your 3 Gatlings out of your pocket, right?
Out of your pocket, and you shoot you shoot them, exactly. No.
So, just like that, Great Scythe, okay. You got a Foundry first. Again, I just want to, the cojones on this guy. Who puts down a Foundry? He's got no other military buildings, right? Like, he's going to be building artillery in the blind, and it's all because he has that much faith in his ability to use these wagons to tank.
Yeah, and now it's just like we're just throwing away units at this point, unfortunately. I mean, you're not really gaining anything out of this by taking down the Explorer except a little bit of XP. You know, you're not gonna 8 skirmishers now coming in.
Yeah,
gonna just totally clean that up. And and then even more Tercios coming in, but I don't know. That was the time to kind of like fall back and like remass.
Exactly. You know, and when both these guys are kind of going for a similar like tempo-based strategy, those type of little fights can really matter because your snowball is just going to be cut down that much more when you know, basically a whole shipment is gone this early in the game. Something else about Great Scythe? He does raid once in a while, but he is very cautious with these Ulans. Again, this is not the typical German player. I mean, you should respect the fact because he can and will raid you if he needs to get pressure off of him, but it's just very unique to use your shipment Ulans in this kind of manner, in a purely defensive manner.
Yeah, I always find that, like, if I'm playing, I never play Germany, usually, but, you know, if I'm playing against Germany, it doesn't take much to, you know, just keep a few muskets in the back and, you know, just take out the Ulan. That's a huge loss for them. But now the Gatlings, ooh, nice, good hit. Pretty good. But pushing out with 3 Gatlings, you have hardly any anti-cav is
Yeah, into Germany.
Concerning.
Right? A civ
Yeah,
famous for its anti-cap. Ooh, man. It's getting some
Ooh.
great hits. I mean, we're down now to 17 vills. Of course, some of those are the settler wagons. Oh, Culverin out, though. Okay, does get one of the Gats, but that was not a bad trade at all. That was like, what, 3 vills? I think he snagged one over here, so 4 vills plus quite a bit of skirm. Or
Yeah,
skirm.
yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. But now you're in a bind because you got a Culverin out and they vastly outrange your Gatlings and you can't really Gatling is not gonna be able to do anything against the Culverin. What are you doing? What are
No.
you doing? Oh,
No.
see, you're just not watching at that point. Again, I
No.
know Caster Vision's 2020, but you're not looking.
Rally point maybe, or select all military hotkey issue, whatever that was. And again, this is why he's the gatekeeper, right? Like, you're going to not only have to make decisions, but you're going to have at least like what we would consider to be a quote unquote good player, that kind of basic micro macro hotkeys, right? So you don't make those type of mistakes.
Yeah, now that fort going down, and he's got 2 coin mines just sitting right in base, right there, well guarded by the fort. I mean, who's designing these maps, man? You don't have to
This is
move
a
out at
classic
all.
map. I mean, this is a old map. Dakota's been in the game for a long time, although it's had increased resources. I don't remember if they had 2 save coin mines back in the day, but the hunts have definitely increased because you used to just get
I
the
don't know,
one.
man. DE has been the game for a long time now. We're getting old. This DE was out. I mean, what? It's been 4 years now.
But I do believe, I don't know if this was an EP map or an original legacy map. I believe it was an original legacy map.
I'm curious now. He's got 23 vills, does that say, right? So I'm wondering how Hahaya is doing on the go front. And he's not really massing too much here. He keeps like he makes a few units, and then he like pushes forward. Oh, Napoleon guns? Great artillery unit, but yeah, then he cancels it in the last minute. That's so curious to me. Like, what are you gonna do?
Did he
Like, what are
decide he's going
so?
to FI maybe? Like, if you look at his macro, he's definitely got a lot of food, but he's only got 15 bills plus capitalism plus whatever other trickles.
Well, he's not training any. He's not making any bills. And he's popped. He's been popped. But yeah, it's like there's again, it's like the whole point of it is for the tempo,
Right.
shipment tempo, and so like we're not seeing that. We're not really seeing any massing. We're not seeing any sort of shipment tempo.
Well, not
like,
just that, but
and if you're not,
you have the
yeah.
whole map, you have this trade line,
Mm-hmm.
and you haven't done anything with it, right? Like, you're a tempo civ, like, you should be leaning into this, right? Like, if he's got 1,000 wood, you ship that 1,000 wood. I assume he's saving it for a shipment, but and these are the things where if you're up against an experienced player like Great Scythe, who has 40, Great Scythe 40,000, right?
Mm-hmm.
He is going to be comfortable in this position because he's been there before, right? Where if you're just kind of bodying a build, just kind of trying to do stuff, and again, it's nothing against haha, yeah, like if you see this and you're like, hey, I was just trying to build, guys, come on now. That's not the point, right? These are just the type of things you need to keep in your head because, again, it's an experienced player. Skill, whether it's micro, macro, or timing, is what's going to pull you ahead.
Right, exactly. And with the 1010 Delaware, like I said, you're gonna want to 54th Massachusetts, 3 Gatlings, 2 Gatlings. You know what I mean? And then you're spamming regulars at that point, right? You're massing as much as you can. Maybe even throw Irish immigrants if you can in there.
I'm sorry, but I would laugh so hard if this was a female settler, given the current meme.
Oh yeah, well, I guess it goes both ways, right? Like as a man, do you want to be with a cougar or a bear?
Right.
You get to decide. But I mean, this is the thing with it. Like you want the tempo. So now we're going New Jersey, and yeah, I don't. Again, I'm Hahaya is a better USA player than me, probably. But New Jersey, typically, there is the Morris Canal, which gives you the 4 infrastructure wagons, and then you have the New Jersey Seaports card that allows you to get extra resources from resource shipments directed into your stockpile. You end up. So he actually went a slow H3, it looks like, and then he used the capital for H4, which is also very interesting. And so he doesn't have any resource shipments in his H4 part of his tech, which kind of defeats the whole point of New Jersey. So I'm very curious as to exactly why, you choose to go. So he's going to immediately go in Morris Canal, right? So that's going to give him master shipments, and that's going to give him 4 infrastructure wagons. So it looks like he's going TP with one of them, at least from what I can see on the screen. Yeah, see, that's that. But he doesn't have any of the H4 resource crates. So it's like, usually what you do is that you send that in, and then you send a bunch of, you get your estates, you get a nice shipment curve, get trading posts, send in the seaports, and then you start spamming crate shipments, and then you boom, and like from there, and like mass like crazy. Especially like, merc shipments or something like that. Or train mercs. So it's just a little interesting.
Well, now Great Scythe himself is going to go to age 4. Now, the USA player does mainly have Shadow Tech units, right? So I think that when Great Scythe goes to age 4, there's going to be a moment of weakness, right? Again, Germany is a classical civ. They don't have a lot of Shadow Tech or Consulate, or they have really good shipments, but they tend to be shipments of their roster. Hi, well, okay. Yeah, so Great Scythe doesn't really, other than the 2 heavy cannons, does not really have any like tempo. He doesn't have the Winged Hussar card, right? For example. So I think USA has an opportunity. Oh, it looks like he is shipping the Grenadiers. That's Washington's Legion, correct?
Yeah, that's going to be the Washington's Legion. These are great Grenadiers, but you don't typically see them in USA decks just because, I don't know, like, if USA players have like a little community and we all meet like on Saturdays and talk about the Civ, I wish we did, but if we did, we would probably all agree that it's a sort of like, yeah, it's good. But I like, in terms of all the other cards that I may pick in H4, that's definitely not, probably not one of them.
Well, I mean, I think it's a good idea here because your opponent's turtle very effectively. Great Scythe, right? Very compact base, just doing Great Scythe stuff, right? So here's what I mean. It's like you're trying to outthink the player. You know what Great Scythe is going to do. How can you put him off his game where you, as the more, in theory, skilled or flexible player, can win? And let's see now. All right, here comes the push.
I mean, he's got advanced artillery in the deck. That could have been the thing. That fort's definitely not long for this world, though, which is good.
Yeah. No anti-cav, though, really? And I must say, like, well, I know that Great Scythe does tend to kind of, invest in infrastructure, and he doesn't have the shipments. This is Germany. You need anti-cav.
Free cav. You need anti-cav. Like, and the tercios are now getting stuck in there in the front line.
No. Jeez, poor
Okay. Poor guy. Those...
Ooh. I don't really know who's going to come out ahead here, but I think those war wagons plus, these Minutemen just kind of counters this whole column. Plus the 2
I don't know. I would just, I don't know. I'm the kind of guy that just says send it, and I'm like, I got the freaking Legion. I'm just gonna see, because all this back and forth moving, it doesn't serve you to like play the game that way. In terms of like, you just end up like losing just by doing that kind of like back and forth attack move kind of stuff. But see, this, like, you can send these, like, they have 40 something hand attack, and I know they have a negative multiplier. Oof, forget it. See ya.
Yeah, right.
Yep. They do have a nice hand attack though, so they should be able to handle like just use unupgraded units, or the war wagons are veteran, but the Ulan are probably still H2.
I believe he did get veteran for him.
Oh, okay.
That's the power of not buying Ulan, but only using shipments. 2 heavy cannons now coming in for Great Scythe. USA was building regulars, and it looks like he's going for the Navajo Scouts card.
Good to counter the war wagons, but I just think Great Scythe has been a shipment ahead this whole time, right? So like training a culverin early because he knows that the Gatlings are going to be coming in, and then now like sending 2 heavy cannon earlier just because he knows that he may be making light infantry.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, look at that. Just bam. Perfect. Perfect their defense by Great Scythe. And I think, I mean, look, dude, he has superior mass, but he's not focus firing those heavy cannons. And perhaps he really can't, right? When you've got Ulans and wagons in your face, but his whole army is basically toast.
Yeah, it's a wipe at this point. Yeah, those heavy cannon have done their damage, and I don't think he's taken out a single one yet. I mean, they're pretty low health, it appears, but yeah, they're super low. That's frustrating, but yeah, you didn't send the Legion and just get right on top of it and just hit the attack button. Sometimes you just have to kind of play it like a ooga booga, sort of caveman, and just kind of send them in to whack it. But
I mean, a
That
lot
is
of that
what it
comes
is.
down to, like I said, your confidence in your skill. Again, gatekeeper, haha, yeah, if you're watching this. And maybe you have beat Great Scythe before and this is just your off day, but, you had all these grenadiers and you took down a fort. So you paid 1,000 wood for an Age 4 shipment to kill a fort.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you lost
And now,
everything.
and then this is the issue here is that he doesn't have the eco to kind of follow up this push, right? So like now, Great Scythe again still has time. He doesn't have a huge mass, but yeah, because of the way that this build has been structured, and he doesn't have the Irish immigrants to kind of sort of like I love that card, especially in this regard because you can kind of whip that bad boy out and it kind of puts you on a different trajectory, right? It's kind of like your get out of jail card.
Mm-hmm.
And so you can kind of switch it up. I think maybe I was going to recommend the rockets, but 5 rockets into 1 or 2 Culverin, I think you win that trade actually. So
Yeah,
you could have
5 rockets into 2, maybe 3 heavy cannon, right? Depending on. Well, maybe not though. God,
oh man, even more Culve.
Hey,
Jeez.
look at this too. Credit again. Oh, here comes Kovat's Legion though. Okay, this might be an actual problem.
No.
No.
I don't know. Maybe not.
I mean, you're spending one of the best cav shipments in the game. You are killing
And just
a
throwing
lot
them
of
in
resources.
solo.
Yeah, but this is it. You just threw it away. Like, was it worth it?
Yeah, again, we try not to be super critical, except for that one time when we watched a 900 ELO Russian mirror game. But like you try not to be super critical, but you don't take I'm sorry, but you just don't take expensive shipments like that and then throw them in solo. Like and then with nothing to follow up in terms of a gain, it's like, yeah, sure, like somebody could say, well, he took out all the artillery, and it's like, yeah, you did, but then what? So then, but you're gonna follow it up with what?
Yeah.
Tercio?
With Navajo scouts and rockets again, like that was your smash button card, right? Like you could have paired that with another shipment, put it in one, and now if you're Great Scythe, look, you've got 2 town centers. First USA player that they've not really done
And a
anything
factory
with the
now.
map. Yeah. One factory.
And a factory now.
Yep. Soon to be 2 factories.
And another factory coming in. Yeah.
Does he have Germantown farmers in this deck? Nope, but he does have guild artisans.
And here's another point to the wise is that when you look at Hahaya's deck and you see like he's got these really strong shipments, like, but the thing is that like I like to call these steroid shipments, right? So like, but like Tren is expensive, so like you're taking these shots in the arm that are really supposed to be kind of like the last plus up to an already existing foundational base of your army, right? And then you hit with that. So like the idea that you have all these cards in H4 that none of them really give you any sort of like economic or military bonuses, generically speaking, but instead you have these like really expensive mercenary shipments and you don't have a strong economy to just send those one after the other, you're kind of leaving yourself out to dry. Like those are really supposed to be sort of like shots in the arm, as it were, rather than like the staple of an H4.
Well, just like steroids or gear, if you take too much of it, you'll wear your body out faster. Like and I kind of feel like that's why the scores here is reflecting of Great Scythe. I mean, Great Scythe has sat in his corner. Yes. And yet, attacking in this game is way more difficult. Did he... Okay, these mills are cup 3. Did he send his favorite card, the... Yep, okay. Land grab.
Oh, land grab. Okay, so I was wondering what land grab was going to do, but I guess it's to help him with the transition to the infinite, I'm guessing.
Correct.
Which is smart.
I mean, Great Scythe, again, he is more than comfortable to go to H5 in this game. We very well may see it H5 if USA doesn't figure out how to close this game or force him out. Like, why would you if you're Germany at this point? Leave your little corner. You've got access to hunts. You have access to food now. I mean, life is good for you.
The only radical thing that the United States player could do at this point, because I think like just starting was already kind of rough in terms of the build order, I would say go H5, go New York. and then train in a little bit of an army and get the Zouave in. I know that's like a super tall order to say. And see, and look, we still are dealing with H2 regulars. Like, come on, man. Like, it's rough, man. It's just tough. I just think that this is like a sort of, it didn't go either as planned or as envisioned from the jump. And you're just kind of, now the game has extended itself. And Great Scythe is just one of those players. He's a counterpuncher. You can see him taking full advantage of the fact that he's playing the game the way that he wants to play it, and taking full advantage of the fact that his opponent has not been able to play the game that they want to play.
Well, not just that, but he kind of anticipated. He had the Colts out early to deal with the Gatling guns. He had war wagons, right, to deal with some of those units and provide tanking. Other than Kovat's Legion being suicided into him, right? Like, there really hasn't been a time. He even when he saw the Grens, he just paused, got a massive, made a batch of 5 Ulons plus a shipment of Ulons and charged him in. I mean, great scythe again. This is where experience in this game, like, you don't have to be a metapod. That's what's so fun about watching someone like Great Scythe is he's playing the game his way. And his experience is shining because Ya has not been able to take him off his game with these kind of like, I hate to say it, but currently kind of classic USA players. I don't think it's optimal, but a lot of USA players have gotten to where they have because they have these very OP shipments, right? But you still have to have a foundation behind that, and now there's a good chance, especially as the score starts to jump. If USA doesn't figure out a way to close this game out soon, you're about to get gate kept.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, you're right. I think a lot of people end up watching the 1800 plus games. And, at that point, that's a combination of a lot of different things. And then you get kind of overwhelmed. And you may be thinking like, oh, I need to do this to be a really good player. But in reality, you really just need to have a really good game sense and just a decent knowledge of, what to make when and anticipating your opponent. And that way, you don't have to have this, like you've been saying, this great APM micro understanding of the game, but instead, right, like, well, I understand that the US player is probably going to make 3 Gatlings at this point, so why don't I just go ahead and make a Culve, and just having that kind of just a little bit of knowledge takes you a long way. And so he's shown that for sure. But I don't know exactly how much I want to compliment Great Scythe, to be honest with you, because FIing every single game with Germany is like it's just so, if it's fun for you, it's fun for you. But that's a certain kind of, I don't know what I would call it, to be honest with you.
Well, and that's what makes this guy so unique, right? Is it's like most players in this game either chase the meta or they have like their favorite civs, like a few that they'll kind of rotate in and out, but they might play different modes, they might do different things. This guy, since Great Plains in like 2013 or 2011, would make lobbies just Germany, just doing his thing over and over and over, right? And so it's like it's kind of fascinating because again, you know as the watcher, and Great Scythe knows what he's going to do, right? And so it's like, can the opponent come up with a strategy to beat this guy, right? Because the playbook is there. You can't even yell and say like, oh, Germany X, Y, and Z, or oh, my civ can't. It's like, no. In Age of Empires 3, there is always an out for every single civ if you know what your opponent is doing, right? That's why like map hacks, not the actual hacks, but the like civs with map revealing is one of the most powerful combinations in the game, right? Because if you know what your opponent's doing, you have the counter. Oh, here comes the rockets.
Rough move to show those early with the market,
right?
But it is what it is.
At least there's anti-cav now. Like, I think Ya is starting to kind of expand, right? But again, these guard carbine, right? These are not bad units, but I don't believe they have the tech, so they are not the best goons.
He doesn't have Buffalo Soldiers on, so it's gonna be. But he can snipe these Culve. That'd be good. I don't know if they have. Do they have bonuses against artillery? I don't think so.
I think they do, but it's not the greatest. Yeah. Oh.
Oh, dude, rough. That is just so. Oh my, what a slog, man. Oh. And then just.
Yep.
Yeah, that's. Yeah, I would put me out of my misery on that one. If I was on that receiving end, I'd be like, yeah.
Yeah, GG, right? I mean, look at the score. The score is completely taken off. I'm going to give these USA players a second, but I actually might start ticking this ahead a little bit because, like, yeah, this is all USA players do is just throwing shipment after shipment. And again, a player that is relatively new to this game may fall for that, right? Like a lot of us who are more casual players and don't necessarily play 1,000 hours, right? We fall for stuff like this all the time. But when, again, this is why I think Great Scythe is a perfect example of like the first gatekeeper, because he knows what you're doing, most likely. Unless you're truly clever, he's seen it before. So if you're just meta slaving, right, and just botting these like broken shipments because that's what I do, it works against everybody else. Yeah, this is what happens.
I wish this USA player was meta slaving, to be honest with you. I don't know. I don't like this guy's forging his own path. I haven't seen really, like, to be honest with you. I mean, maybe like I don't know who his opponents have been. You know, especially we got to account for regional differences. He's probably an East Asian player.
Mm-hmm. Different
So
meta,
he's
true.
probably playing, you know, different kind of thing, right? So we have to kind of account for that. That's just it. I have never. I think I've done a Delaware FF maybe once or twice in my career, and I've only ever seen it 0 times. So like, except in like, you know, certain videos.
He's killing his units so he can
Oh,
get more
so he
pop
can.
space.
Oh,
We
just killing bills.
Yeah. So at this point, your score's almost doubled. He finally takes stage. I mean, again, this should have been 20 minutes ago, if not sooner, for the USA player. And all right, we're gonna go back to normal speed for a big fight. Just wagons.
Yeah, in Carmine Cav don't beat wagons.
Ooh, new needle gunners. Oh, those needle gunners are gonna tear most of these units apart.
Yeah.
Good choke though. USA player, that heavy cannon's getting some value, but those culverins.
He's got so many Culve, yeah.
Needle gunners, super good. I love the uniform. Love the remake. Kind of hard to see it. Oh, we got a villager up ahead. Why not?
See, and this is the point now too. It's like he's still popping Tercio. Like you need to be popping your guard minute at this point. Like much more value out of that.
You know, but you
for sure
you don't really have it. And I mean, I think this game, there's no way USA is going to try for too much longer, right? Because I think at this point you just got gate capped. Like door
but still popping Tercio. See, oh my gosh. See, I'm gonna start now. I'm upset. Now I'm raging. I think. Like, you have the option to pump either Tercio or Minutemen, and Minutemen are just going to have they're just going to be of way more value to you throughout this game. Tercio, you usually use them earlier on. You don't use them later, just because it becomes a game of rifles. You can't walk your pikemen at them. Because you can't mass them in significant amounts.
The 3 layers, well, I can guarantee you that if this guy doesn't move a time, Great Scythe will go Imperial. And then start sending mercs.
Yeah, I mean, like, you might as well have fun at that point, right? I think, you know, like, if you're like, all right, cool, the game's just going to extend itself, this guy's going to drag it out, then I want to see all the pretty uniforms and other kind of units.
And he's lost games that way. That's what's funny. Right? He just doesn't seem to care.
So I want to point out now that we're well into the industrial age, and these are the first culverins we're going to see from Haha Ya, and just...
Yeah, guard, carbine, cav without the card are nothing special. Quite the pop, though. All right, this is the last pop. This has got to be the last hurrah of USA. Popping the Navajo Pride.
Oh, 100%. You saw that those heavy cannon on the right, that they just got absolutely deleted by those culverin. I mean, like, that was his kind of knockout punch. And now he's going to walk up another 2 heavy cannon, and then they're going to get wipes.
Yeah, looks like heavy horse artillery. Yep.
Because the other culverin that he made were not being used to counter the other culverin before he walked up the heavy cannon. And I'm like, okay, cool.
And again, I mean, this fight lasted long enough that you had time to micro, right? I mean, Great Scythe micro. And again, he is not like a crazy APM player at all, but he was able to click his units. I think the USA player probably just had a loss at this point. You know, I don't know if he's like, damn, my build didn't work, or he's just trying to get one last hurrah, but he sent all the shipments. I guess except for Delaware, but he doesn't have them upgraded, so I don't know. I think Great Scythe absolutely has this in the bag.
Yeah, no, I mean, he played really well, and he anticipated a lot, you know, but I really don't know what happened. I don't know exactly. There were some just questionable choices on the other end in terms of, yeah.
There we go.
Yeah, that's rough.
That's rough. Well, I think it's not just
I think
questionable choices, because first off, I think that's like taking away the fact that Great Scythe was just on his ass this entire game. Like, I understand that this isn't, quote, meta, but I don't think it really would have mattered if it was meta or not, because the fact of the matter is this USA player, when he did push, every single time Great Scythe had the right combination of units. You know, I mean, this is why the guy is the gatekeeper. Great Scythe didn't... I would say his build is arguably, right? Like, depending on what you feel about the build, how viable or consistent his build is. He played his build clean. His resources were well spent. His army comp was well spent. He got max value out of almost every single shipment, whether it was the 8 skirm 3 Yulan, whether it was the war wagon, whether it was, you know, getting to age 3 fast, and then later in the game, even sending cards like land grab, right? And building extra town centers so that way he can boom really fast and ensure that he can't be kept up, right? Because the German late game eco is one of the strongest, if not the strongest in the game. He just never, every opportunity the USA player perhaps had to mess with him wasn't met, and then Great Scythe didn't really flub. He didn't waste units, he didn't waste resources. The guy had a plan and he stuck to his plan. And experience, I think, shown through. Now, that being said, this USA player, I think his plan was just throw shipments at my opponent. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, that's yeah, I'm not trying to take anything away from Great Scythe. I think like you said, especially I think the brilliance of his play in this game was definitely in the Washington's Legion fight, and just kind of anticipating the counter there, and really just having your wits about you, remaining calm, saying, okay, cool, like Tercio's taking down the TP line. All right, cool, you ship these grenadier shipments, it's fine, and was able to just kind of be a rubber band, right? Bend, don't break, snap back, and just counter punching. Great. That's great. And if you're going for a turtle build, it's exactly what you need to be doing. So I think it's a good example. As far as the USA players is concerned, though, I mean, throwing shipments into you can't buy your way to happiness, right? So you can't send your shipments, like you can't throw shipments at people in an anticipation of victory, even if you are the United States. And I know people say, well, very strong shipments and whatever, but just goes to show you just can't throw them into the maw. Kovat's Legion, Washington's Legion, just really strong cards that were just underutilized. I think a lack of economy, I think a lack of tempo, all those things, despite maybe setting up for those things, just not really following up and executing on them was probably the kind of the moral lesson to take away from all this, at least from my opinion.
Exactly.
And he got gatekept.
Exactly. Like a player with a quote unquote bad or off meta build adapted his build into the opponent in a way that was maximally efficient, where a person playing a meta Civ, United States, didn't really adapt to his opponent. And then, and therefore he's going to have to take another crack at it. And until then, long live the great Scythe.
Well, don't you didn't know that Germany was the S tier #1 Civ in the game?
Right.
You didn't. I mean,
when Great Scythe, he's
yeah.
our canary in the coal mine. If this guy hits like 2K ELO or something, then it's time to start reevaluating. But then again, too, he might have earned it. When he hit like 1800 with Germany, it was considered kind of a weaker patch for them. Like, again, I hope if people are watching this, it's a little bit of inspiration for those that are kind of their own players that like to do their own things. You can, and this guy, I think he flits between like 1400 and 1700 ELO. So you can make it.
You know what? If you're watching this, you at home, and you just need a little pep talk, listen to what Platt is saying. You can put on that glass slipper. You can be the Cinderella of this story. You can take a Civ in an off-meta build and be a 1400 ELO success. Yeah. Absolutely, 100%. That's your glass slipper. You can do it.
Exactly. And again, before we close out here, again, a player that often, is mocked by pros because of his refusal to adapt. One thing, it is never boring to watch this guy's games, because even though you know what's coming, sometimes players like haha yeah it'll happen, other times players will win, but it's almost always entertaining because it's nothing else like you'll see in Age of Empires 3. So if you're ever bored and you see this guy in the queue, observe it. Just have a fun, because it's definitely a great like beer and pretzels type of thing. So Great Scythe, if you're out there, I hope you have enjoyed our cast. Like I said, he does have his own YouTube. I'll try to link it when this video is posted. And I don't know, SerShark, you got any final thoughts before we close this out?
Subscribe. You're watching this, subscribe. We're 50 off. I need the numbers. 1K. Let's get it.
Right? We're leaving less than 50 now. I think we're like 30 something.
I don't know, but please help us out. We're looking for the 1K sub, and we'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you so much.
Exactly. Peace.